actually shit. Lads, I'll be honest, I don't even know if I can do this anymore. It is 3 Premier League defeats in a row for Liverpool, 5 in 7. I know this is what you wanted after the City game. Significant depression followed that one, and I wasn't able to make a video. Now, I'm just gonna have to. Off the back of the 4-1, which featured 2 massive goalkeeping howlers from Alisson, we've now gone into the Saturday early kickoff against Leicester. The sun was shining. It was very cold, actually, so the sun shining doesn't really matter. I'm gonna talk you through the goals, okay? Refreshing. Alright, listen, yeah? First half. The usual first half, because fuck all happened, okay? There's no point even turning up and watching the first 45 minutes of a Liverpool game anymore. I think 9 goals in total in the last 2 Premier League games. Not a single one of them's come in the first half. Kind of lack of intensity again. I mean, we did create a couple good chances, really, in the first half. One of Mane or Salah should have scored, really. Equally, Leicester had some really good chances as well, with Vardy hitting the crossbar and having a header that he should have done better with. Really and truly, this one had 0-0 written all over it until an outrageous piece of skill from Bobby Firmino to set up a equally very good goal from Mo Salah. I give this guy a lot of stick, okay, Roberto Firmino, for his full 7.5 style of play. But this assist is one of the best assists I've seen in a while. Probably it's going to be the best assist of the season, or at least top 2. It was a true moment of magic, but much like Dynamo, that magic was about to disappear. So we have a free kick on the edge of the area for Leicester after Thiago dangles out a foot, fresh off the back of completely dictating the midfield all game. I thought at first it was in the area. It turns out it was outside. Free kick right on the edge of the area. Doesn't matter anyway, because James Maddison flashes it into the bottom corner. But Daniel Amate stuck out a foot in the area. The referee reckons he's offside, gives it as an offside. VAR then checks that one and realizes that Bobby Firmino's foot is keeping pretty much everybody onside. It's disappointing, okay, but the last thing you want to do in that situation is capitulate. We then capitulated. Long ball gets played over the top. New Schalke youngster, Kabak, is running, charging back for it. He wants a piece of the action. Alisson clatters him, coming out for the same ball. It drops to Vardy, who runs it into an empty net. Alisson's mentals are finito. You were the chosen one! It looks like he's found a new occupation. At least when he flies out as an air host, he actually reaches his destination. I know that Kabak is new, so he might not be accustomed to the inner workings of the Liverpool defense. But he knows what a shout is, okay? Which means that Alisson can't have given him one. I don't know what shout is in Portuguese. I don't know what shout is in Turkish, but they're clearly not the same word, okay? 3 minutes or something after that, maybe 4, Harvey Barnes is set through and slots it past Alisson as well. After the worst defensive line you're ever gonna see. The 2 centre-backs decided to have one. Then Thiago and I think it was Robertson decided to have a completely separate one. It's okay though, guys, because remember, we're mentality monsters. Now, obviously, it's very easy to be over dramatic here and say that we're in a crisis. Having said that, I do think we are in a crisis, but I don't want to be too over the top, you know. I don't think I've seen anyone calling for Klopp to be sacked or anything, but it goes without saying that that's not the answer. I don't know why I even have to say that. I don't know what it is though, because it's not an ability situation, all right? Nobody's lost their ability overnight. Mohamed Salah didn't just wake up one day and realize he was 67 rated. That's not what's occurred. But there's a lack of continuity going forward. There's a lack of cohesion in the moves that we're putting together, not on similar wavelengths. The amount of balls that are getting swung into the box, and I'm not seeing the run that Trent or Robbo were expecting when they put the ball into the box. Equally, it's not like we're creating nothing whatsoever. In the spell of like 7 halves of football in a row where we didn't score a goal or whatever it was, we had about 80 shots. Just a lack of clinicality going forward. We used all of it in that 7-0 win against Crystal Palace. We had 11 shots, only 1 on target against Brighton. We had 15 shots today against Leicester. We had 17, just 1 on target against Southampton. 17, just 2 on target against West Brom. We had flipping taken 27 shots against Burnley and lost their game 1-0. It could be a confidence situation. When I've watched games on like a very basic level without doing a huge amount of analysis and just watching body language, it seems as if we get to a certain point in a game. Certainly this was the case before Spurs and the West Ham results, where we just get to like the 45-minute mark or the 40-minute mark and realise, well, it's not happening today, lads. Come back next weekend. Jim, get the training kits out. Such a weird transition from last year where you kind of knew we were just going to pull something out of the hat. You know, we were losing 1-0 against Aston Villa with 3 minutes of normal time to go. We win the game 2-1. Now it's the complete opposite. I don't have any faith, really, once we go a goal behind to get anything out of a game where a team is sat in front of us regimented like Brighton or Burnley did. There's the argument that we could just be completely fatigued over, you know, having played a stupid amount of football over 3 years at a ridiculously high intensity. Jurgen Klopp plays this gegenpressing, constant pressure, in your face, rock and roll, heavy metal, just screaming at you all the time football, and that can run for a bit, but maybe these players have just reached the end of their tether in terms of consistent performance and consistent energy levels. And the thing is, I saw Jamie Carragher and Chris Coleman analysing this, and our team is fundamentally the same. Since the Champions League final, we lost, not even the one we won. The only first team player we've brought in since literally that game, other than Alisson in goal, but he's a goalkeeper, so he's not going to provide the pressing physicality-wise the outfielders do, is Fabinho at holding mid. And ultimately, we don't have the squad depth to be able to deal with that. Jurgen Klopp, I don't want it to seem like I'm being over dramatic, but he did perform a miracle winning the league last year to an extent. Now, hear me out on this. I know we spent 75 mil on Van Dijk, we spent a lot on Alisson, but when you compare that to teams that have won the league in their own financial climate at the time, the amount of money that's been spent on that side in the last 4 years is crazy low. Beyond the starters, you know, there's not a huge amount of players that can come off the bench and change a game. Like, I don't really even look at Ajer and Shaqiri and say, you're the man. So ultimately, the same starting players have to keep starting. That's the problem. Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino and Sadio Mane and Andy Robertson are playing literally 90% of games for the last 3 years. That's crazy. And you compare it to the likes of City, who can rotate whenever they like. There's the argument, though, that we have to change tactically. I don't particularly think Jurgen Klopp is at fault for really the Leicester game in terms of on the day. I can't really pinpoint a substitution that he made that I questioned, but you know, going into that game, he didn't change anything, whatever, but I think that's the problem. Like, you have 2 months of being slapped about, really and truly, and teams looking as if they've found you out tactically. You have to adapt slightly. Now, Manchester City had a very rough start of the season. They haven't particularly changed the way they play. Really, they still are very possession-based, still very slow and methodical, and equally, they've managed to find a way of, once they go 1-0 up, just seeing out the game, defensively being sound. But a different example is Arsenal. You know, and it was even just a formational change. They weren't creating enough. They just dropped anybody into attacking midfielder. And I know that might be doing a disservice to Emile Smith-Rowe, but he's not the type of player that would come in and you would expect him to suddenly revolutionise the Arsenal team. And just having someone in that number 10 role who could just roam about a little bit, pick a little bit of space in, and drag defenders out so that runs could be made in behind was so key. I would love to see a similar situation at Liverpool, because there's just games that we go into where we just simply don't need 3 central midfielders, 1 slightly more deep lying. You're already playing against a wall of players in Brighton and Burnley. They're regimented. They need to be pulled out of position defensively if you're going to get anything out of this one. Drop Firmino into a number 10 role, have Salah up top, Shaqiri on the right, and Mane on the left. Just try it. We haven't done anything shape-wise, intensity-wise, anything to look any different to how we did 3 months ago in our style of play. We're just playing worse. As it stands, we're gonna not even finish in the top 4. So I would at least like to see something, anything, just a formational change. On the flip side, obviously, we don't have the most amount of freedom to do that because of the lack of personnel we have. I think the situation I just described, I think we could manage. Obviously, I'm not the manager of Liverpool Football Club, but, you know, the pressing intensity is going to be hurt by the fact that we've got centre-backs who just aren't quick. Our high pressing from the front and risking it all relies on having really pacey centre-backs. Virgil van Dijk is done out. Joe Gomez is done out. Even Joel Matip, I mean, I'm not surprised. He has the structural integrity of a chocolate hobnob, is done out. So obviously we're going to struggle when we don't, A, have anyone really senior capable of playing at centre-back, who's used to playing at centre-back. B, because we've got central midfielders who are integral to how we work and operate at central midfield, not playing in central midfield. And C, they're slow, so we can't even really work the system that we're used to because they can't make the recoveries that Van Dijk and Gomez were able to do. So when you look at us across the season, we've got 10 senior players out right now. We're in the top 4. That seems good on the face of it, but our current form is worrying. We are going to have to rely on basically Fabinho playing at centre-back, hopefully hoping that Kabak is good enough to partner him. Hopefully then finally seeing Henderson in central midfield, which might galvanise the middle and, you know, make it a little bit easier for us to control games in the centre of the park. And that might bleed forward into a little bit more intensity going forward because Mane, Firmino and Salah are not clicking. Jota being back in training is a positive. He'll hopefully be back in the starting 11 maybe, or near it in the next few weeks. But we're going to have to hope we don't get any more injury crises. In conclusion, we're done out. Let me know what you think, though, down in the comment section for Liverpool's European aspirations. We're out of the title race. That's completely done, but that goes without saying. How we're going to be able to improve, what we're going to have to do to improve, whether we can. If you enjoyed the video, though, slap a like on it. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. I've been Niran. I've also been depressed. It's been a pleasure. It really hasn't. It hasn't. At all. Roll the credits, bruv. Roll.